Good evening. A very warm welcome to everyone. I am Prerna Nahar, Design Mentor at BRDS. I have an immense pleasure to host this interactive session for all the design aspirants of BRDS. For this session, we are very proud to have with us Ms. Shriya Rathore. She is pursuing her graduation from NIFT Gandhinagar in Fashion Communication. Hi Shriya, how have you been?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for asking. Thank you very much for coming last minute for this interaction.
No problem.
With Shriya, we have two of our best design faculty, Mrs. Khushbu Patel and Mr. Shwetang Srivastav. Talking about Mrs. Khushbu Patel, she has done her design program from Milan, Italy. She is a design faculty. Hello, ma'am.
Hello, ma'am. Good evening.
Good evening, ma'am. How are you?
Very well, ma'am. Thank you. How are you?
I'm good, ma'am. And Mr. Shwetang Srivastav, our GAT faculty, he has done his master's from IIT Roorkee. So he teaches students GAT at BRDS. Hello, sir.
Hello, ma'am.
So this was all about the introduction. Now moving towards the questionnaire. So I will ask some questions to Shriya. If you have any doubts related to design, entrance exam or anything, you can drop in the chat box below. We will be answering all your questions after completing some of my questions that I already have for Shriya and the mentors. Mentors will be given last minute tips also, how to prepare for the exam, as exam is on 5th of February 2023. Without wasting much of your time, let's start with the interaction. So Shriya, I would like to ask you some questions that I have already that many of the students have asked.
Sure.
So students are very eager to know your experience at NIFT. It's your first year. So how are your studies going on at NIFT?
Okay, so basically I'll introduce a bit about myself again. Hi, I'm Shriya. As ma'am said, I'm studying at NIFT Gandhinagar and my department is fashion communication. Right now we are in foundation program. My second semester just started a few weeks back. And right now all the department students are studying together. So we are studying with accessory design students as well, fashion design students as well. So it's really interesting to know different approaches to a single solution, a single problem. So all of it is really nice. It's hectic some days, but it's a good hectic. You enjoy the hectic days as well. We're working for about 10 to 12 hours a day. Some days, not every day, but yeah, it's really good.
Great. Now coming to NIFT entrance exam, how would you describe your experience of the NIFT entrance exam 2022 you had last year?
Okay, so basically our exam was online. A few weeks back, we got to know that our exam is going to be held online. So a couple of guidelines were given to us. They were very clear with what they wanted and what they didn't want. They wanted us to set some cameras to avoid the cheating process and all of that. The overall exam went really smoothly. It went really good.
Okay, so was it easy or difficult?
So when we're talking about the drawing part, the CAT portion was very easy. I'll tell you why. That was because we had plenty of options in our CAT. We were very lucky enough to have so many options in our drawing part. The CAT portion overall didn't have any issues as such because we had so many options. We could choose what we wanted. It was really easy for that. The GAT portion, the maths, reasoning, GK, all of it was easy. Like it was moderate. If you have a good command on these subjects, you could easily do it. However, the English comprehensions were a little difficult. They were lengthy as well. That was somewhere we struggled with the GAT portion last year. I hope you don't get difficult comprehensions this year because we really had some difficult comprehensions and we struggled with that.
Okay. So you have explained about CAT and GAT part. CAT was because you had a lot of questions, so it was easy to attempt. And GAT theoretical part, being theoretical part, sometimes it is easy, sometimes it's difficult. So to know more about it, Shwetam sir will also discuss. How would you guide students in terms to how to approach the NIFT paper?
Again, I'll divide it into drawing and GAT part. For the drawing portion, if I'm talking about myself, I divided 1 hour each. So basically, we'll have 3 hours to attempt 3 questions. So I'd also suggest that you divide your time as 1 hour to each question. If you're giving 1 hour to each question, I'd suggest that you give proper details, proper rendering to those questions, because you're getting 1 hour for that question. So it should look like you have given 1 hour to that question. So that's about that. About the GAT portion, again, because it was CBT, we had a little surprise there. So basically, when we were practicing the mock tests and the normal original papers, it had a thing that, okay, first it's English, then it's maths, and then it's reasoning. But that was not the case with the CBT. We had maths questions first, and when we opened and we were like, why is maths first? Wasn't it supposed to have English first? So don't get panicked. It can have little surprises during the exam. We did have that, but you can handle it. It won't be a big surprise as such. For the CAT, what I did was I didn't really have any preference while I was doing the questions. So I just went on one after another. But if you are having a particular preference, I'll suggest do follow that preference order. I really didn't have that. So I just normally did what I was getting and what I didn't get. The questions I had doubt, I wrote them separately on the side of my question paper so that I could come back to those questions after I was done with all the ones I was sure with, basically.
Okay, that was good. So as you know, general ability test has numerous questions from different categories like quantitative ability, communication ability, analytical reasoning, etc. So how did you prepare for these topics?
So I did all the book sets given to us by the BRDS material. The BRDS material is self-contained. I can guarantee you nothing is going to be out of it. Like if you are doing all of those questions, I'm sure you'll be able to do the question asked in the exam. Make sure your concepts are clear for this and you get enough practice, and that enough practice is you have plenty of questions in the book set. If you're practicing all those questions, I'm sure you have a good concept clarity and you'll be able to score well.
Okay. So as you have mentioned before that CAT, there was in GAT part, there was a lot of surprises because maths came first and something. So did you fumble over there? Like what to do, how to attend?
A little. Again, it was CBT. It was first time. We didn't know what was going to happen and what the scenario was. So I can add a little tip over here as well. What you can do is, if you have a preference that, you want to do maths first, what you can do is you can have like first 5 minutes, you can just go through all the questions and write that, okay, 1 to 10 is maths, 11 to 15 is so-and-so topic. So, you know that, okay, this topic is from this question to this question. This topic is from this question to this question. So if you want to do maths first, you can go directly to that question. It's going to save your time, and time is the key in the exam, as you all know. So it's gonna save your time. So make sure you can do this. It will help you.
Yeah, so proper division is necessary, is important.
Yeah.
So there is negative marking also in NIFT. So how did you attempt the question, keeping that in mind that if you went wrong, then you will have negative marks for that? So what you kept in mind before doing the questions?
I didn't really take a lot of risks there. If I remember, I think I took like 1 or 2 questions. I made a small little tukka, as we say. I didn't want to risk it because my entire paper went really well. So I didn't want that, for some marks I lagged behind. So if you know that, okay, if my entire paper has gone well, and I can, take that small little risk for 1 to 2 questions, I'd say just go ahead. But again, if you're not sure about it, don't do it.
It's better to leave in that case.
Yeah. I remember I had a few questions which I didn't know at all, so I left them. I didn't do anything about them.
Okay. So should we attempt tough part first, or we should leave that later on, that we will be doing it later?
I'd suggest do your tough parts first, but again, don't give too much time to one single question so that the rest of your paper suffers.
So my next question is related to that only. Did you got enough time to complete the paper? Because ours is fixed time duration, time management, how it happened.
Okay, so for the CAT part, we had enough time for the CAT part, I'd say. Again, ours was online, so we had to scan it and upload it. So we had to keep that time separately as well, because no extra time was given to us for that. It had to be done in that 3 hours itself. So it was done. I didn't really have any issues with the drawing part, especially. The GAT part, again, as I said, the English was lengthy. I remember I did all my questions and then I was reading the passages again, that maybe I'll find the answer, maybe I'll tick it. And then suddenly the screen got that they were like, no more, you can't tick again. So that was what happened with me.
Because that was online. This time students have their paper offline, so there won't be issue like you have to scan the documents and you have to submit. Yeah. So it will be easy for them. How did you prepare for CAT part? There were various questions related to creative ability in these papers. So how did you prepare for that particular part, CAT part?
I remember doing the 30 chapters module that BRDS provides. Try to attempt all the questions that are at the back of those chapters. I think they give a lot of clarity to your design concepts. So I just did those 30 chapters. I made sure that I know each chapter, even though I had chapters that I didn't like at all, but I made sure I did those as well. So yeah, make sure you're through with all the 30 chapters. Nothing is going to come out of those. You will be able to do it if you're doing those 30 chapters properly.
Okay. So before the preparation time, in the preparation time, how many hours a week you gave to this NIFT exam, NIFT preparation?
So I took commerce in my 12th grade. So it was pretty easy to manage. I had tuitions. So that time was just, I couldn't do much work, but I made sure that I'm giving enough time to the NIFT entrance, because I was very serious with cracking the exam. So I made sure I was attempting papers during these last days and tried to revise all the GAT part. So as far as I remember, I made a small little timetable that I'd do reasoning one day, I'd do maths one day, I'd do GK one day. Like I was revising GK every day, because GK is something you cannot do one day, or at the last minute, you have to keep revising it. So that was how my timetable was.
Okay. So one prime factor while preparing for exams is time management. What is your approach to work with it? How important that was for you? Regular practice, everything.
Time and daily practice both are very important. If you're doing daily practice, if we're talking about drawing, daily practice is going to give you extra time. I'd say, like, if you're doing it daily, you'll be able to do it faster. So what I did for my CAT part, I did the rough sketch at the back. That helps a lot. My approach was basically that I give about 5 to 10 minutes to that approach thing, so that you know that for the final one, you are not confused that where I have to place this, where I have to place that. You make sure that, okay, this is what I have to do first, this is what I have to do next. So you create a plan like that for yourself. For the GAT, again, practice and time both are very important, and these will come from attempting papers. The more the paper you attempt, you'll know that, okay, this is my strength, this is my weakness, this is taking more time, this is taking less time. So make sure you lessen your weaknesses and sharpen your strengths.
True. So it is important to solve original papers, sample papers, whatever material, whatever papers you are getting. So you get proper time, like what time you
Yes.
have to complete the particular
Extremely
part.
important.
So time management here is very important, students. What tips and suggestion you would like to give to the NIFT aspirants so that they can score well this time in 2023?
For the CAT part, I'd suggest, okay, so basically the CAT part will have two types of questions. One will check your drawing skills, your realistic approach skills, and the other are going to check your creative skills. If I'm talking about myself, my creative part was much more stronger than my realistic part. So that creative one will mostly be the 40 marks question. So make sure you are at, if like me, if your realistic approach is, it's a little lesser, it's moderate, make sure your creative question is really, really good and it's standing out. As everyone says, the first idea is going to be the common idea. Don't take that idea. Try to be different. Try to be, come out of the box, basically what we say. Make sure you're doing something different and something is standing out from your paper, and it's not just like, okay, 10 people have done the same thing. It's not gonna catch the eye of the invigilator. They'll always look for something which is like, which is different, which has a little different approach to the question. So basically, yeah, that. And yeah, basically that. And for the realistic ones, I'd say try to add as much details as you can. For example, our realistic question, which I attempted, was of the apple. We had to draw a rotten apple. So that's basically checking your observation skills, your how many details you can add in that question. So in that, you can't be creative. You can't give the apple eyes, hands, legs. They are checking how realistically you can draw the apple. So for that, you have to draw realistically that apple itself. So make sure you're doing that well. What has been asked, make sure you're doing it within those limits, but creatively.
True. So understanding the question here is very important.
Yes, make sure you're reading them twice before starting the final one. That will, for example, for us, we had the first question we had to use only black and white. So that is basically, we didn't have to use color in that. We had to do pencil rendering, or I think we could use marker for that. So that was that. So make sure you're not going, कि हाँ ठीक है इसमें तो black and white बोला मैं color कर देता हूँ. Don't do that. If they have asked black and white, please do black and white.
Otherwise, they will waste their time as well.
Yeah.
Okay. So to sum up the entire conversation, one last message you would like to convey to all the students of BRDS?
I'd say make sure you are attempting enough question papers so you know what approach you are keeping for the final paper. So it's not like, you're giving the exam and you are knowing कि यार इसमें तो time नहीं मिल रहा, अब क्या करूँ? Make sure, this is my strength, this is my weakness. I'm going to attempt my strengths first, or I'm going to attempt this first. Make sure that you're well planned with what you want to do in the question paper and what you don't want to do in the paper. Always try, that you're showing your strengths first and you're not, don't show your weaknesses to them. Just show what you can do. And I know all of us will say, don't take stress, don't be nervous. It's gonna be there, but it's just going to overrule you if you're taking much of it, and it's gonna show in your paper. You might not know it, but it does. So make sure you're attempting it really, really well and you're showing the best you can.
So for that, as you have said, that rough work, if they are doing in CAT part, that will help them.
Yes. Make sure you're planning everything well before you go ahead with the final one.
Yes. So that were the questions that I had before. Now students, they will be asking you questions. So students, if you have any questions for Shreya, for Khushbu ma'am and Shwetang sir, you can drop in the chat box below. If you want specifically to ask to one person, you can address them, Khushbu ma'am question, Shwetang sir question, Shreya question. I will be asking them questions one by one. So everyone, you can drop your questions in the chat box below. Navya Surana is asking, should we do the tough part first or at the end? Though Shreya has answered it, but once again, Shreya, please.
I'd say do the tough part first. Like again, it depends on you what you want to do. I did all the questions that I knew I was sure with ki haan, theek hai, this has to be done. So my approach was basically I was doing all the questions that I knew and I was very sure that these are correct. So I did those and then I went to those which, I was like, maybe I can do this, maybe I cannot. So take that call for yourself that, okay, I want to do this first or I want to do that first.
Okay. So Shreya, what other exams you gave apart from NIFT?
I gave an ID and UC.
So NID, UC she gave. If a student is weak in maths part, is it possible to score well yet? Shwetang sir, can you answer that?
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, I do think that it is possible to score good marks if you're not that much good with the maths, because first of all, the weightage of maths is of just 20 marks. Okay, so if you're well good with that other 80 marks portion, so you can go score good into those 80 marks. You can target for 65 or maybe 70 marks into those 80 marks question, which includes English, comprehension, GK, and logical reasoning. But again, I will say this thing that the quantitative aptitude questions will not be that much difficult, which you cannot attempt. The questions will be from the very basic mathematics, like level up to 7th, 8th standard or 10th standard. The questions like of ratio, proportion, percentage, profit loss, board mass. Okay. So you can attempt at least those questions. Okay. And the last thing which I want to say regarding this thing is that, as I said earlier, also do not undermine yourself before the exam. Do not doubt yourself. Do not think in this manner that I cannot do that thing. Okay, go ahead. But if you do know this thing that you are a little bit weak with that portion, make sure that your other portions are too much strong that you can cover that disadvantage you do already have. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, sir. So, question from you, Shreya. So, for GK, what reference you used to study? You like any reference book or any website for GK, general knowledge part?
I'd say there is no specific thing for GK. I think Shwetang sir would also tell you the same thing he told to us. There is no right and wrong when it comes to GK. There is nothing which I or Shwetang sir can tell you ki iske andar se hi aayega for the GK. You have to read everything. You try to read as many things as you can, and it's not going to be something which is, which you might not have heard if you're not aware about what's happening. It's gonna be something you might have heard at least once. I'm sure in the paper, they don't ask you rocket science, which you would not have heard ever. But yeah, make sure, I think the LMS Access does have some GK material. Make sure you're just going through it a bit, like a once at least. So yeah, pretty much.
Okay. Shreya, can we use pens in the exam? Black pen?
Again, make sure on the rough pages, you can make sure if it's leaving an impression or not. If it is, I'd say don't use it. Color pencils are your best friend for the exam, I'd say. Even I used color pencils and a micron for that matter. Yeah, just make sure that if it's leaving an impression, don't use it. If it's not, you can just go ahead and use it.
So it depends on the paper quality.
Yeah, it does.
Okay. So Nikshita is asking, how many hours did you spend daily in 12th standard for preparing?
So I'd say on a daily basis, when the exam was not near, I was giving my entire Saturday, Sunday to the intense preparations. When the exam was near, I was like, I'm not going to attend tuitions. I'm not attending the classes, tuition classes. I will prepare just for the exam. So I was giving quite a lot of time for the entrance exam. Probably like 6 to 8 hours, I think, like 1 or 2 weeks before the exam, not all the time. On daily days, I was just like, I was doing it on the weekends when the exam was not near.
Okay. So as per you, is drop year a good idea? You didn't have that, but when student is asking,
I didn't really take a drop year. I don't think I can really take that call for you guys. So I really don't know what to say for this.
no problem. Nitya Sheth is asking, please ask Shreya to tell us the questions of CAT which were asked in NIFT. Some of the question, if you remember, it's been a year now, but if you remember some of the questions.
The questions that were asked to me, I remember those. We were asked to make, the first question was, we had to use a tree and we were given 3 options and we had to choose any of those 3 options and we had to create a image around that tree. So what I chose something related to winter and I drew a dried tree and a small house. That was something which I did. The second question was the rotten apple one, again, which I discussed before. We had to draw a rotten apple and we had to do it realistically. The third question, which was the creative one, and I remember this was the best out of the 3 for me. I did, which it was something related to gifting clean air. So I made 2 human figures. I made like a oxygen cylinder. It had some creative things, and I made a window behind which was showing that all the pollution, the industries, and everything.
Okay. So these were the questions. I would ask Khushbu ma'am last minute tips for DAT part. If you have any, you can share with students.
Sure, ma'am. Well, I think Shreya has given some really valuable inputs. Somebody who has gone through the process, seen the paper, and sharing her own experience can really add up to your understanding. Few more things which I want to add to that would be, she also mentioned in this case, that you should try and pre-plan your answers. I think that is something which will give you an idea that what my next couple of minutes are going to be. What am I really supposed to do? And it doesn't take much of a time to create a small thumbnail of what my sketch will look like. Just make circles, many basic shapes and lines to figure out that basic composition. How will I arrange this? How will I put these kind of things, X, Y, Z? That will give you a clarity of how your answers are going to look like. And before you start drawing that thing, you will make certain decisions and it will reduce down your error time. You draw something, erase, you draw again, you confuse yourself, you waste your time. Rather than that, use 5 minutes, use 7 minutes, it's okay. Just structure your thoughts and then try to draw, which will give you clarity and it will save you from this kind of an hassle, because sometimes it also demotivates you, like it's like, oh, my answers are not working, this is not really the best version of my thing. Rather than going into that kind of a downfall, you try to figure it out and then try to attempt it. That has always helped me as a student long back, and I always say that that method is never going to fail. Second part, when we talk about NIFT structure, the kind of answers they are looking forward to incorporates creativity level as well as best representation of your skills. That is equally important. They are giving you enough time to put every possible detail, but that doesn't mean that you get away with the creativity behind it. We need to make sure that our answers are unique in its own way. And most importantly, you are justifying the question that is asked. It's okay to read question 3 times, 4 times, till you get a complete idea of what is the answer really demanding here. Don't hurry up. You might end up reading something completely wrong or interpret it in a wrong way. And after finishing your answers or after coming home, you're like, oh, I have made this mistake. That time isn't going to come back to you. So read it out a couple of times, give yourself a surety that whatever I'm imagining as my answer, that is really the right think over here. Try to look at the options if it is given to you for each of these particular questions. If you have some options to choose, look forward to which is your strength in the one. The answer or the particular option that you're choosing, which one you will be able to do it in a good way, or which is going to give your skills that proper justice. Choose your answers, choose your options very wisely so that you can stretch as many number of marks that you want. And it also shows your skills and understanding. Let's say if somebody feels that I am not very good at making human figures sometimes, and it's okay. We understand that after long practice, and there are things which we might not be able to master, which is fine. Then try to choose options which is saving you from doing that particular thing. You yourself, you should not put yourself in a trouble in these kind of selection areas, right? So choose it wisely. Wherever there is specific instruction given that you have to add only pencil drawing, don't try to add any colors, anything extra, because that I'm going to calculate for your marks. Don't waste your time, basically. Try to read the instructions that what they are really demanding over here. Some questions which are really, which needs coloring, or with that you are able to communicate your answer in a better way, do add color. Do save that much amount of time for the rendering area, because that will also enhance your drawing, the kind of imagination that you had. Being it color rendering, pencil rendering, whatever is the question really demanding over there. Okay. And try to revise all the chapters. We are anyway going to have a proper sessions for that. But for your own understanding also, go through the methods, go through the techniques that we have learned and use them properly to gain maximum amount of marks. Don't just hurry up with your sketches. Don't make shabby drawings. This is all about the presentation, and along with that, your own impression in your paper. So that kind of that level of work needs to be there. Okay. Yeah, more or less, I think everybody, all of you have prepared very well and got all the guidance that requires. We are still there to help you out. But yeah, that's all from my end. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. It will be really helpful to the students during exams. So same
I'd
question.
like to add something, Prerna ma'am.
Yes, please, Shreya.
As Khushbu ma'am mentioned, I'd suggest all the students to attend the revision sessions because they are going to be really helpful. Those 2 or 3 hours, whatever the class is, make sure you're taking that time out. I understand that your 12th is going on and you might feel like you don't have time. Trust me, you'd have that time. I've been there, but these revision classes will be really helpful. Just go and attend them and do what they are asking. Make a rough layout if you want, but make sure you're attending those. They're going to be really, really helpful.
Yeah. That's really informative. You have to attend all the brush up classes. We have started the brush up classes from today. So 2 hours brush up classes till 3rd of February. We are having that. So please attend the brush up classes. So yeah. Shwetank sir, same question to you as well. Any last minute tips for GAT part to all the students?
Yeah, sure, ma'am. So before starting everything regarding this last minute tips, I want to discuss few things regarding the exam pattern. Okay, because till last year the question had been in a particular order, like as said by Shreya, that they had this idea that first there will be questions of comprehension, then there will be question of English, then there will be maths, then there will be logical, and then GK. But last year they shuffled up the whole paper. Okay, randomly there were questions of English, then randomly there was question of maths, then randomly suddenly it was a question of GK. Okay, so the same thing may happen this year also. It may be that you will get the questions in the random order. Okay, so make it sure that you are mentally prepared for that. As said by Priya, you can note it down, like which question number, or from which question number to which question, up to which question number the question is from the quantitative aptitude, or the question is from the logical reasoning, and then you can jump in between those questions to go for that particular question. Okay. Now every single question will be of 1 mark, and every single question will have a negative marking of 1/4.25. Okay, so you have to attempt very carefully, as again said by Shreya, that taking risk in 1, 2, or maybe 3, 4 questions is completely fine. Okay, that is completely fine. Okay, but taking risk in almost every single question or every second or third question is not fine. Okay, so you can take risk in 2 or 3 questions, that will be completely okay. Okay, you guys can do that thing. Okay, so you have to remember this thing. The weightage of English will be of 50 marks, 25 marks grammar, 25 marks English comprehension. Weightage of quantitative aptitude will be of 20 marks, logical reasoning 15, and GK 15. Okay, so you have to figure it out what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, on which proportion on which portion you can score more, you can get good marks over that portion, and which portions are not that much you are comfortable with, you are not that much, what I should say, strong with. Okay, and you can eliminate that one. Okay, I can keep that one aside. I will have to make sure that I do score more and good marks into the remaining portion. Okay, so strategize yourself, your preparation accordingly only. Okay, now the last thing regarding the tips. So go and do as much as papers you can, as much as questions you can. As said by the Shreya, again I'm repeating her statement, do the BRDS material you do have. Okay, just go through the BRDS material. If you complete the BRDS material in coming maybe 10 or 12 days, I'm 100% sure that you will get selected, you will clear the cutoff. Okay, because nothing is going to be there out of that BRDS material, okay, which is provided to you. Okay, talking about GK. Okay, so in the GK portion, again, कुछ भी आ सकता है, there can be anything. Okay, there can be any topic, there can be anything, but yes, you can analyze the last few year papers. You can make notes like which question had been asked regularly, on regular basis they ask which type of the question, then you can make notes of that one and you can prepare accordingly. Okay, but the GK literally in this NIFT is very, very, very vast. The question can be from history, it can be from geography, it can be from civics, science, static, current affairs, it can be anything. Okay, so prepare yourself for this exam accordingly. Most of you already do have the experience of 2 exams. Okay, so you all do know what actually the pressure is. Okay, so prepare yourself accordingly. Okay, best of luck. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. So there were many questions related to GAT, related to GK over here, that how to study, what will be enough. So I hope everyone got the answers.
Prerna ma'am, just a second.
Yes.
GK के पीछे मत पड़ रहो, guys. Don't miss out other topics just because of GK. I'd suggest, because I remember even I was behind GK. I was like, GK का क्या करना है, sir? But make sure you're doing all your other, which is like maths, reasoning, and English. Our English was actually very difficult. So make sure you are practicing passages really well. And not having command on maths, for example, for few students, don't worry. Make sure you are attempting the rest of your paper really well. And you are making your other topics really strong. So, you don't miss out.
So GK is not something that uske bina paper nahi ho payega. Yeah. One question for you, Shreya. Can we leave negative space in color grid questions?
I'm sorry.
So Tashvi is asking, can we leave negative space in color grid questions?
I'd suggest you don't. Those color grid questions, try to fill each box. Don't color white. I mean, if they wanted a blank thing, they would not have given you that grid question. That grid question is to check your color combination skills, as far as I remember. So yeah, I'd suggest don't do it.
Okay. So question for you, Khushbu ma'am, what should be our strategy for these last 2 weeks, like coming 2 weeks?
I think the answer was very well mentioned by Shreya, that you attend these revision batches. That's going to cover up all the primary important topics that have been covered up in any paper ideas. We have figured out a very particular timetable to give you an entire set of revision. So do not miss that. On a personal level, I would say you should also do your own revision, considering both part of the paper. Go through the topics on your own and list down the things which you feel that I'm little weak at. Try to spend little more time in strengthening those particular areas. Don't keep practicing things which you can already do very well, because you will anyway end up getting good ideas or good level of work over those topics. So try to work on your weaknesses in this much of time and try to attend these sessions clearly. I'm not just saying because we want you to be there or something. It's just because it's going to give you an entire idea, which is very much required before the exam time. So on both levels, I think this can help you out.
Okay. Shreya, question for you. Should we skip questions which we know that we do not have any understanding of because of negative marking?
Yes, don't take that risk. If you're sure that I will not know the answer of this, just leave it and go ahead. Don't waste your time. You can come to it again and you might give it a try if you have time left. But again, if you are like, no, I don't know this at all, just leave it. Don't take a risk.
Yeah, in 1-2 question, if you want, as sir said, you can try, but not more. Yes, negative marking is there in GAT part, minus per mark. We have already discussed that before. Viha Nayyar is asking, could please ask Shreya about your situation test, so that we will have this conversation also later. But if little information you can give Shreya about situation test.
Okay, so the situation test was at the NIFT Gandhinagar campus itself. My situation test was on the second day, as far as I remember, and it went really good. Like we were given a proper table. We were given the material in one single packet. We were given a question paper and we were given a rough paper. So I remember making something related to water. We had to make a model related to water wood. And as far as I remember, I made a water bottle, and inside that I made a small bucket. And my ideation was to like save water, something related to that. But the situation test went really well. I'm sure you'll have, if you clear the exam, which I hope you all guys do. If you guys do that, I'm sure BRDS will have situation test classes, and they are again very helpful if you attend those, and you'll be able to do it well.
Yeah, so that classes also we will be having later on. Shwetank sir, question for you: which chapters are important in maths?
As I said, in the mathematics, you can go for the chapters like from the BRDS material, if I do say that thing. So the chapters like SCF, LCM, okay, chapters like numbers, ratio, proportion, percentage, profit, loss. Okay. Other than that, one, simple interest, compound interest. The questions from these topic had been asked, okay, a lot. BOD-MAS rule, okay, simplification. Other than that one, sometimes in the past years, I have seen 1 or 2 questions. Okay, so the topics I have said earlier, there had been repetitively a lot of questions. Like every year they do ask 1 question, 2 question, 1 question, 2 question from these topics. But on irregular basis, I have seen few questions like from time and work, trains, boat and streams, clocks. Okay, other than that one, the question had been from sometimes area also. Okay, so these are chapters important from mathematics.
Okay. Vanshika Shreya is pursuing fashion communication. Aditi Arya, can we use black pen in the exam?
Make sure it's not leaving an impression. If it's not, then yeah, you can go ahead.
Question to Shreya again. According to you, what are a few ways in which your CAT answers stood out from the rest? So how were they unique?
Okay, so I'd say don't try to be unique in the realistic questions, because in those the primary thing they are looking for is your details and your observation skills. So make sure you are focusing on those when you're attempting the creative question, the realistic questions, basically the drawing questions. For the creative ones, I'd say try to use a good color combination. I think that helped me a lot for my creative questions when I was attempting those. One small tip I could give here is try to have about half an hour daily to go through Pinterest and like Google for that matter. Look at different posters, look at different presentation skills, what others are doing. I know this might sound really weird, but at the back of your head, this will help a lot. You never know when you can combine two things and make one answer that will really stand out in the paper. So do try that. It will help. And yeah, color combination, proper composition of the entire drawing. Again, that will help if you make a small sketch. Small details will help a lot. It's not like कि creative करना है तो कुछ अलग ही होना चाहिए. You should know the basic details. It should not have like, entire focus is on one side of the paper. It should be balanced. It should have a sense of composition. It should have good color combinations, contrary color combinations, like, red or blue or orange or blue for that matter. So yeah, pretty much.
Okay, so sometimes school can also help you. That can be beneficial. Again, for you, Shreya, you said you took commerce. Even I took commerce. Question is from Sneha. How did you manage both? Can you tell your timetable? Not in detail, but in short, if you can say.
So I was really sure that I want to crack one of the design exams. I was okay with scoring about 80% in my 12th. So make sure what your priorities are and make sure what you want to do for those priorities. My priority was definitely design exam. As I said before the exam, I kept everything aside and I was like, I'm just going to prepare for my exam. So there is no right and wrong here. There are no time limits. Like, if you are spending 6 hours daily, you will crack the exam. There is no hard and fast rule here. You have to prioritize what you want to do and what you don't want to do.
Okay. Dia is asking Khushbu ma'am, if someone has very basic drawing skills, are there some ways you can still score good?
Yes, certainly. I think these points are not only skill oriented. There is, of course, the first layer of method, the technique of drawing. That's something that we have to use. So, if you are strong with that particular understanding and you use those structures very well, I think the drawing's fundamental part will automatically be right that way. About the skill of the drawing areas, maybe you can work on your line quality part. You need to just tell yourself at every point that, yeah, I need to make a little better drawing or I need to maintain the line quality over here. And that conscious effort will automatically bring that clarity that one needs in the drawing. And it's not only about just the pencil drawing that we do. The rendering plays equal important role, the way you are adding your observations, detailing, all of that collectively counts and you will get proper marks for that. So don't worry if you are not like very pro at doing that. Make sure that your understanding of techniques and the methods, how we draw those particular things are clear. And you follow that particular part and try to draw with little more patience and try to tell yourself more consciously that I need to make more presentable drawing. That will do the job. You don't have to worry about this.
Okay, ma'am. So how long is NIFT exam for? It is for 5 hours. Shreya, how many papers to solve? As you said it before that you have to solve a lot of papers for original papers, sample papers, whatever BRDS is giving, but how many? Snigdha is asking.
I'd suggest do all the 10 mock test papers BRDS is providing and try to attempt as many original papers as you can. As far as I remember, I attempted about 6 to 7 mock test papers and 3 to 4 or like 4 to 5 original papers. But I'd say if you have time, attempt as many question papers as you can.
Okay, great. So, Shwetang sir, in the comprehension part, how can student improve that if they are weak in that particular section, the comprehension one?
For comprehension one, that is something which does need some spontaneous action. Okay. It doesn't matter how many passages you have read so far in your life, how many passages you have done so far in your life. If you're not able to understand the passage at that time of exam, that is of no sense. Okay, that is of no use, whatever you have done so far. It is not like quantitative aptitude, like if you do know the formula, you can apply that formula, you can put the values in over there and you can get the answer from there. Okay, that is something which you will have to do at that time. Okay, for practicing that thing, it will be very good if you do work on your reading habits. Okay, you can prefer any magazine you do want to go for, like it may be fashion magazine, it may be sports magazine, it may be automobile or maybe political magazines. If you are not into the magazines, you can go for any fictional novel or maybe novel if you do love. And even you may prefer the newspapers also. I will not suggest news channels or maybe something like it, but newspapers you can prefer. So you should have the reading habit. That is the most important thing for the comprehension. Okay, because the main thing is to read the passage and understand the passage. Okay, it is just about that spontaneous. It is just about that particular moment, like how you are getting that passage. What does the author wants to say? What does the author wants to convey? Okay, if you're getting that thing at that time, that is fine. And even if by chance, by luck, if you do get any passage which you have done so far in your life, okay, it is very rare that you will be able to remember that lines, those questions. So I will suggest you that work on your reading habit rather than practicing a lot of passages. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Shreya, can we create patterns in the color grid questions? Have you answered that earlier?
No, I didn't ask to that, but no, you should not. I think color-based questions are a lot, but I do attend the class when they're telling, when they're talking about the grid-based questions. I'm sure it's going to be there because NIFT does have a few grid-based questions. So guys, no patterns, no white spaces, just fill the box with the colors they are asking.
Ma'am, a question for you on how to approach poster design questions.
Well, you need to understand the subject of the poster. That's the primary thing. Any particular poster that we're designing, there are primary three elements that we need to add in here. The overall idea of the graphic that you are using. So think about what suitable visual or a graphic that you can add, which can communicate your subject, your understanding in a more strong way. Second element would be adding some kind of a tagline or a title. So if you have given something particularly in question and you're using that, fine. If you want to create something on your own which supports the subject, that's also doable. So think about where you want to compose it, how you want to frame that thing up, what you want to write, fonts, and many other things. And for posters, because it's about the visual representation of something, some thought, you should think about a required color palette also, because it's colors which bring that contrast, bring the readability, and that will make your poster look more interesting. So these are three primary elements. There are many more, which we will again talk about in the lectures, but you need to clarify yourself in these three pointers first. Think about the composition and then draw and complete the whole part.
For you, Shreya, is there any personal interview for bachelors? Like, did they ask any introduction? Why this stream you want to choose? Why NIFT does ask this kind of question, or just attempting and coming out?
No, they didn't really ask us any of these types of questions.
So you have to go give the exam, you have to come out. So yeah.
Yeah, for the situation test, as far as I remember, we had to make the model and we had to give a write-up. And they were very clear with what they wanted. Like they clearly wrote that you have to create a model and write 1-page brief. So yeah, that was all that was asked for the second round after the entrance exam.
Okay. So Shreya, how can I prepare for English part, synonyms and antonyms? 1+ is asking this question.
I think Shwetang sir will be able to answer this better than I will.
Okay. Well, I think this is not the right time to ask this question because it's already too late for preparing your vocabulary. Okay, because it is something which is similar like GK. You have to practice a lot onto that. Okay, you will have to learn new words onto the daily basis. You will have to do this for past 3, 4 or 5 months. Okay, so थोड़ा सा लेट हो गया है ये सवाल पूछने में. You should have asked that question quite earlier in your batches and your sessions. Okay, but still, if you want to go for that one, do not worry. It may be a little bit those words which will be difficult, but it will not be like that ki you haven't heard of those words ever. Okay, so thoda sa, if you will be able to recollect your memories, so maybe you can answer those questions over there. Okay, but prepare with the BRDS material. In the BRDS material, there are a lot of words over there with the chapters, synonyms and metonyms. At least you can try to learn those words.
So BRDS study material is more than quick nicely. One more question for you, Shwetank sir. Can you ask him whether solving Olympiad questions of logical reasoning and maths question from IMO is more than enough to solve math question for NIFT?
No, you do not have to solve those questions for NIFT. You should have asked just those questions for maybe UCED exam, but for NIFT, you have to stick onto the very basic maths and very basic logical reasoning. Okay, do not have to go up to that level of Olympiad. Okay, just do not go for that one for NIFT. Okay, according to me, that will be yes, because over here there will be very direct question. It will be closed-ended question. You will have to just remember the formula, write down those formula, put the values over there and just solve and finish. Click the answer, move to the next question. Okay, it will not be like you see that you will have to think of like, okay, what is the approach? How I have to look out for that answer. Okay, it will be very direct. So you do not have to worry about these type of questions on the level of Olympiad and other exams. Okay.
Shreya, I also wanted to ask you this question. How did you manage stress during exams? Because back-to-back NID happened, UCED happened, and it was NIFT. So how did you manage all the stress and boards also later on?
It's gonna be there, let's face it. And I clearly remember I was struggling a lot, like with my 12th and the entrance exam. But again, it's you'll have to handle it. There is no way out of it. Okay, just make sure what your priorities are. Again, I'm saying the same thing. Make sure what your priorities are and you're working for those priorities. Don't waste time on social media. These 2 weeks are important. These 2 weeks are going to, I remember for boards, I kept my phone aside. So, you can do such things, not for the entrance exam, because again, you're using the internet, but don't waste time on things which you know that they are not going to help you for the entrance exam. So prioritize, know what you want and give time to what you want and not which is not going to help you.
Yeah, prioritize and aim towards it. Yes. Again, a question for you, Shreya. When did you start building your portfolio?
Now that I'm in college, I think portfolio is something which you're building all the time. It's not something, which is going to be made like, I have this 1 month, I can build my entire portfolio. There's no hard and fast rule for portfolio as such. I'd say keep practicing daily, make sketches daily, make sketches that you want to put in portfolio. You can have some sketches that, okay, I want to make this sketch really stand out so that I can put it in my portfolio. But don't have this mindset that, this 1 month I'll do only those drawings that I will keep in my portfolio.
It's 8 o'clock.
Should we use timer and then solve papers? Snigdha is asking this before the exam.
Yes. Make sure you're timing your work. I'd say even for drawing questions, try to keep, about an hour timer and do the question and see what you're doing. Like, as Khushbu ma'am said, and as I did, I kept about 5 to 7 minutes for my rough sketching before I started the main ideation. So all these things beforehand will help you a lot during the main exam, so that, you're not struggling that, oh, should I give 10 minutes to the rough sketch or should I give 5 minutes to my rough sketch? So yeah, all that is really helpful, and keeping a timer will definitely help you to know that, okay, this much time you're giving to the drawing part, or like, the rough part, the coloring part, or whatever XYZ.
So then only they can learn time management thing
Yes.
as well. Yeah. So cutoff for 2023, Shreya, sorry, Vedahi, paper is not out. So paper abhi hua hi nahi hai, to cutoff, how can it be out? So yeah. Okay, Sneha is asking to Khushbu ma'am. Even if my drawing skills are not nice, creativity will make the examiner give a good impression, right? Will it still convey my ideas?
Well, see, they two are little different parts. The ideas that you have and the presentation that you're doing. But at the end, to convey that this is what I thought or my imagination is such, you need to really draw that thing out. No, we can't keep writing or putting all the information as pointers. At least you need to do that bare minimum drawing, which is communicating your imagination to the examiner. If you can do that through your drawing, then they will understand it and you will get your required marks. But then if you have a brilliant idea, but you're not able to communicate that on paper, again, it's not going to help you with the marks. And of course, if the person can't understand, you won't be getting the required marks for that, right? So presentation is equally important. We can't just survive on having a brilliant idea, but not very clear presentation.
Okay. So GAT part is computerized or OMR sheet is given to the student? Shreya, Jigisha is asking you.
I think this time also you have a computer-based test. So it's going to be similar to the one we had. If you want a basic idea of what I had, I'll give you the basic idea. So basically our screen had, like, on the left side, we had the numbers. Main questions were on the center part of that. And on below, we had 2-3 buttons. One we could like submit, and then if you have given USEED, I think you will have a better idea of what CBT looks like. But I'm sure, I think so, and I hope so, NIFT will tell you what, the mock looks like of the CBT. We were given a mock test when the online exam happened. So it will be something similar to this. It's going to be computer-based. So yeah, not the OMR one.
So Shreya, again, does NID and NIFT have some similarity in the drawing questions? Because both have drawing parts. So is there any similarity?
I think NIFT looks more on the, the skill and the rendering part. NID is more on the creative side. Sometimes students that don't have really excellent drawing are in NID. NIFT does take drawing really seriously. Like they do want, like, a good level of understanding in drawing. They don't want you to make cartoons. They would want real human beings and real plants for that matter. But yeah, they are somewhat similar, but the checking criteria is different according to what I have experienced so far.
So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Shreya. Thank you, Khushbu ma'am. Thank you, Shwetank sir. It was wonderful session. I hope students will get benefit of it. One last question to you, Shreya. Any success mantra you want to share with the students before going?
Don't take stress. It's going to affect your drawing. And also, I'd like to mention that as far as I know, your GAT part is first this time. NIFT usually doesn't have that, but this time they do. After giving the GAT exam, just forget what happened. If it's going good, well and good. If it's going bad, just forget it and focus on the CAT part. CAT part has more weightage. So don't get depressed or like, sad that, oh, my GAT didn't really go well. I forgot this in GAT. While drawing, you should not have maths questions running in your head. Focus on what you're doing. And again, try to look as many presentation skill things, color combinations. Utilize these 10 to 12 days at your best level and give your best in the exam. And really, all the very best. I hope I could see some at the NIFT Gandhinagar campus next semester.
So thank you. All the best for the upcoming exam. Do join the brush up classes daily. If you have not joined it today, you can start it from tomorrow as well. So thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. So have a good day. Good night. Yeah. Thank you.